Rabia, Siddique, thank you for joining me. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the 3 key points that you delivered in that session. I guess, what do you want to leave organisations with?
Hi, yes, thank you for having me. I delivered a session this morning with Quirk, the CEO from Harrier, and the session was about gender diversity and inspiring change. I'm a humanitarian, I'm an author and I'm a professional speaker. I work in a number of spaces in resilience, in leadership and inequality. This morning what I did was I shared my very personal story with everyone at ATC. Essentially, I am a first-generation Australian. After seeing some social injustices both in my own life and in my father's life as a new immigrant to Australia, I developed a very strong sense of social justice. I decided on a career in the law, and in the late 90s I went over to the UK, and through an accidental twist of fate I found myself as a legal officer in the British Army. I did things differently. I was deployed to Iraq and I was involved in a hostage crisis incident where I was sent in, despite just being a lawyer, I was sent in to negotiate for the release of 2 SAS soldiers. That was a fairly traumatic experience. Miraculously, we all ended up being rescued after several hours, all of us being held hostage. A colleague of mine was sent in to help with me, and really that's where my story began. My colleague, who was a man, was awarded a military cross for his bravery in the incident, and I was ordered never to speak about my incident, my involvement in the incident ever again. And I guess for me that was the first time that I'd experienced so starkly a personal injustice and discrimination on a personal level. I tried very hard to address this, and when all my avenues were exhausted I ended up mounting a landmark discrimination case against the British Armed Forces and the British government, and eventually won that. And I guess for me what I was hoping to share with all of those that attended ATC this morning was the power of one. The fact that we so desperately in our world today need strong, courageous people. People, men and women, that are willing to stand up and uphold and defend the values that we should all hold dear. And there is this power of one. If you are willing to stand up and be the inspiration for change, it has a ripple effect. It only takes one. So in a room full of people that have the capacity and the power to influence and change, my call to them was, do you have the courage, the moral courage, and are you willing to take a stand and bring about the change in your workplaces, in your community, in your relationships and in your houses?
Thank you. And Quirk, you added to the presentation some interesting stats about I guess where organisations are at with the gender diversity issue, and the fact that we have a fair way to go. Could you add to what Rabia's just told us about?
Absolutely, thank you for having me. I think one of the startling facts around the Australian landscape is there's 34 OECD countries, of which Australia is the highest in terms of educational attainment, but they're the second lowest in terms of women in senior leadership roles. In the room today we have 250 heads of talent acquisition that control hundreds of thousands of hires a year within the Australian landscape. And if we all just did one thing differently, we'd inspire a change, we would change the landscape we live and work in, and our families and generations around us do. However, it's about a collective change. It's about creating an ecosystem. It's not about just a quota or a target or an HR policy. It's about a collective enablers that will help inspire key individuals in all aspects of minority groups, albeit women or disabilities or age, from obtaining the highest levels of office across not just the Australian landscape but globally.
Often, Kelly, I guess organisations are under pressure to please shareholders. What can you tell us about the return on equity in investing in gender diversity issues?
Shareholders are typically driven by profit, share price and return on equity. If you look at increasing gender diversity by just 1% in an organisation, there is typically a 54% increase in return on equity and a 48% increase in EBIT by just increasing that diversity ratio by 1%. So the financial argument is compelling. There's a lower negative gearing ratio, there's a lower risk profile and a higher corporate governance standard as well. So from a shareholder point of view, around investing in women, in leadership, in all aspects of an organisation, the argument is just overwhelmingly powerful as to why they wouldn't do it rather than why they would do it.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been a pleasure having you speak at ATC today, and you've inspired so many people. Let's just hope that they take away at least one thing from that session and really make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you.